Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for waking up early and coming to get a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of creative thinking that is so important to me and to all of you. So my name is Paula Oliveira. But when I say, hi, my name is Maria Paula, people say, hi, Maria. I'm like, no, not Maria. So long time ago, I became MP, and that's how I'm known in the professional world and in my career, and also with my friends. And the funny thing is that we spend a lot of time thinking about the names that we're going to give to our kids. My parents gave me Maria Paula. I shortened up to MP, and my good friends call me Am. So, hello, that became a letter. But, so what I'm here to talk today, James and I spoke, I think 3 or 4 months ago when I came for the first time. And he said, we're going to have this theme in November that's going to be lost. And I said, okay, I'll embrace it and I'll tell you my stories of when I was lost and when I found myself. So I wanted to tell you 3 stories today. When I'm lost, when I found myself. First story is a professional one. It's going from a ladder climber to a world traveler. Is anybody here trying to climb the corporate ladder? No? No? Yes? Okay, good. Some people yes, some people no. I was totally doing that. I was totally full on climbing the corporate ladder. I was going up. This is me over there. This is the whole team that I worked with. That's back in Brazil in 2008. And it's a whole team of people working around marketing, innovation, and strategy. And that's when I became very passionate about innovation. I was working, why is it coming? It's going by itself, James. Kind of going by itself. Okay. Then, in 2010, that's me in France. I took a vacation in France to celebrate my 30th birthday, so you can guess how old I am now. I shouldn't have done that. But I was celebrating my 30th birthday, and who here has had a crisis on their 30th? A lot of hands coming up. What happens in that crisis, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, is you try to start reassessing your life. It feels that you're on a journey and you gotta know if that's the path or not the path, because it feels very definitive that if you're in that path, you're gonna continue in that path. I'm gonna throw this away, James. So then, what I did when I came back from a vacation, remind that I was working on corporations. I was working for this particular corporation already for 7 years. I was climbing the ladder, and I decided that I wanted to change that. So I went to my therapist and said, so here's the deal. I want to quit my job. I want to go live in South France. I want to work at a cafe. I want to ride my bicycle to work. And I want to have a kid, but I don't have a boyfriend, so it's going to be on my own. And it's like, wow, we have so much to work with. I was like a pot of gold for her because there was so much there that she had to work with me. Then we worked for 2 years on these ideas and what they meant for me. Because although I loved my job and my career and I loved my profession, I was feeling stuck and lost and unhappy. Then I found this book. It's in Portuguese. I'm going to translate for you because I believe not a lot of you speak Portuguese. Make sense? Okay. So it says it's a notebook for doodling and sketching for grown-ups that want to blow it off, to blow everything away. That's basically what's said here. One of the pages there said, put an idea in your head. So before I tell you what my idea is, because I know you cannot read Portuguese and that's in Portuguese, I want you guys to draw a head on your piece of paper and write what is the idea that you have in your head. Thank you, Kat.
All right. Okay.
You want to go to Brazil? Awesome. Yes, okay. Okay, did you all put your ideas? Did you all put your ideas? Good. So the idea that came to my head when I opened that page was to travel around the world. That's what it says there. Take a round the world trip. And I've never had that idea before. When I went to my therapist, I didn't go saying I wanted to travel around the world. I said I wanted to change my life. But when that idea came down and shaped itself with pen and paper, it really made sense. Because what I wanted was to travel and to see the world. And I was feeling trapped into one company, one city, one path. And I really wanted to see other paths. So that's what I did. 6 months after this book, I started Making It Happen Expedition. And there in Portuguese it says 365 days of culture and innovation. Because I still wanted to get inspired to learn more about the world, to learn more about culture, to learn more about businesses and brands and what they're doing elsewhere. But I really wanted to go and see the world. So I saved for 6 months. If you want to know, it's not that expensive to take a round the world trip. Not at all. It's very attainable. But you got to take the plunge. You got to take the risk. And also the risk is not as big as it seems. We sometimes get stuck with a lot of fear that is disproportionate to the risk. So then I put this map together. So that is the map where I wanted to go. At the time, I was with my husband. So we said, okay, which countries do we want to visit? How are we going to do that? And then we drew this map. We basically did everything that is here, except that we didn't go to Latin America. We came to North America. And I'll tell that story in a while. Okay? So in this round the world trip, this is just a glimpse. So that's the husband, and that's a lion. That's a 15-month-old lion. And you get to get these experiences, which are fascinating. This thing doesn't stop moving. So we went to 27 countries. We spent 1 year doing this round the world trip. In July 2012, we had quit our jobs for a couple of months already, and we got married, and then we embarked on this journey for exactly 1 year, going all around the world. I got to realize dreams that I had. So this is, who here knows what this is? It's Monet's garden in Giverny, France. So this is a place that I really wanted to go. Monet is my favorite painter, and I really wanted to visit, and it's fascinating. Another dream that I had was to see the Northern Lights. So we went to Norway, and we got to see the Northern Lights, which is something that is incredible. While I was researching for this trip and researching countries around the world, one of the things that's back in 2012, I don't know if you guys remember, but Bhutan was being recognized as one of the happiest countries in the world, and they had just shifted from a GDP, it's just shifting from a GDP measure of economic success or nation success to the growth happiness index that they were considering. So I felt very interested about going exploring Bhutan, and I went. That's the Tiger's Nest. It's a 4-hour hike to go in and a 3-hour hike to go down. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Who knows what this is? Shut up, you can't. You're just there. You're just there, you can't. I knew you were there. Maha works for me. So, that's a familiarity. So this is a metro station in Russia. And when you go there, you understand so much about the culture and so much about what drives the people. And in the communist era, they wanted the public areas to look beautiful and to be places where people really wanted to be. So the metro stations look like museums. I also got to do experience, that's my second experience with lions. Apparently I like lions, except don't pull their tails. I did that and the guy was like, yeah, don't do that again. So Not the little one, I put the big ones there. But this is one of the most beautiful places I've seen on earth. Does anybody know where that is? It's the Blue Waterfall in Laos. In Laos. In the middle of Southeast Asia, so Allison recognized it. It's stunning, and we don't see that all the time. Nobody tells you go to Laos because it's beautiful, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've been. Cappadocia, yes. So Cappadocia, I went there to fly hot air balloons, which was also another experience. So throughout this journey, I was living these amazing experiences with animals, with people. So this is a child in the Himba tribe in Namibia, and with places and cultures. And I was also living a lot of good experiences with food. One of the things, so this is like a noodle soup, and I don't quite remember which country this is, but one of the curious things is that I learned on this trip that I hate coriander. So every country that I go, I have to say, I learned how to say thank you, I learned how to say hi, and I learned how to say coriander. So I can say no coriander. So, but tasting the different foods of the different cultures really opened this world of possibilities for me, a world where I could taste and understand where these cultures were coming from. I could understand what is that people look like and eat and behave in Europe, in Africa, in Australia, in Southeast Asia, in China, in America. It was an incredibly rich experience that allows me now to connect with people from different cultures. So I know there's a person from Singapore here. I know how to connect with her at a different level that I would if I hadn't done this trip before. I've also learned how to overcome major obstacles. That's a goat. So I like goat cheese. Okay? Does anybody like goat cheese? Have you been to a goat cheese farm? Yeah, that's what I decided was a good idea. I thought going to a goat cheese farm meant that I was going to eat goat cheese every day and basically be on a spa and relax and be on a farm setting, and eating bread with goat cheese. No. They stink, they attract flies, and it's disgusting all over. So this is a place that my husband and I went at the time, and we felt like we needed to escape because we were trapped on a goat farm, and we really needed to understand what we wanted and what we didn't want. And what we didn't want was a lot of flies. We wanted to eat cheese in a cafe, not in a farm. And this is the last country where we went, which is in the US. This is a vision. We can't quite see the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's on the back. This is a vision of one of the areas in San Francisco. When we got there, I found my new track. So I was lost when I started, and I was found when I finished. I found out that I did not want to go back to Brazil. Although I love my country, I wanted to continue to explore the world. So that was my new identity. And although I loved working, I wanted to work on a different setting. I wanted to work for startups and not for corporations. So I decided to relocate to the Silicon Valley. And that's where story number 2 comes. So my story number 2 is the story of reinventing. I thought I was found, and I got lost again. I went from being a superstar to being just one star in a galaxy. So in my corporate life in Brazil, I felt like a superstar. I was climbing the ladder, I was getting recognition, I was teaching, I was speaking all over Brazil and all over Latin America, and I was being paid to do that. I was being paid to teach what I love and to speak about what I love. And that was a dream coming true. I thought I would get to the Silicon Valley and be a star. I wasn't. I got to the Silicon Valley and I found a very competitive environment for which I did not have the right skills to compete. I had the right skills to compete in a corporate setting in Brazil, but not in the Silicon Valley. what was required in Brazil was work ethics, strategic thinking, innovation, management thinking, and a lot of things that I brought. When I got to the Silicon Valley and I told people, I work with corporate innovation. They're like, what is that? Are you a product manager? I was like, no, I work transforming brands. Oh, so you're in marketing. I was like, no. So I had to redefine, and that's me and husband and dog all embarking on this trip. So my dog stayed in Brazil when we did the round the world trip, but when we moved to the US, we took the dog with us. And I really had to take that moment when I was there thinking I was going to be the super corporate star to redefine and resignify what I was. So just showing some images here that really signify the world of Silicon Valley for me. So there's a lot of beauty and culture. There's a lot of technology. So you drive around and you walk around and you see technology happening, you see business models happening. So I was there in 2013. That was when Uber really started coming up, when Lyft started coming up, Instacart, DoorDash, a lot of these global companies, they were starting to establish their business models. One of the things that I was studying when I went there was the sharing economy, which for us right now, Airbnb, Uber, Careem here are very common services. Those were just coming up. And another thing that I found out was this whole ecosystem that supports startups. So this is Startup Embassies, a house where founders can go and stay. I'm looking at James because the clicker is just clicking itself. So Startup Embassy is a house where founders that want to start a business in Silicon Valley can go and stay. So that was very different. It's a very different world. And I really had to repurpose what I could offer. Because going to an early stage startup and saying, I'm here to do your strategy, I'm your strategy manager, or I'm your innovation director. No early stage startup needs an innovation director. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I had to redefine myself. And what I found is the skills that I had, I didn't have technical skills in product development. I didn't have technical skills in digital marketing. Although I studied marketing in school, when I did that, and was not that long ago because you guys know my age now, it was very different. Marketing changed a lot in the last 15 years. So I couldn't do digital marketing. So I repurposed myself as business development, because what I know is how to connect with people, how to sell, how to present a value proposition. So I started doing that. I started searching for work in startups that needed business development people. And I thought the startup world was going to be like we see when you visit Google. However, Google's not a startup. Google has been around for 20 years. It's a huge company. The reality of startup world is this. So that's a place where I was working. This furniture, we put it together because that's what one of the accelerators in the Valley, they were just starting a new group. So they rented the space. They said, okay, we're going to make it better. But right now, that's the furniture that we have. We didn't have internet because the servers were not working. So it was like a complete mess. And you have to learn how to deal with that. And I was a corporate diva. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to put my furniture together. I didn't know how to work without internet. I didn't. So that really stretched my limits. And the good thing about stretching your limits is when you do, it doesn't come back. You learn new skills. You learn to adapt to different situations. I learned with a goat farm, and I also learned with the startup world, which was not easy. Another thing that happened to my life that I had to really adapt at the time is that I got pregnant. So I got pregnant in January, and I got my first startup job in January. So throughout my pregnancy, I was working for my first startup, which was a co-founder in a 5-people team. After I had my baby, I decided to take a break, and then I moved to another startup. Then something happened that is totally out of my control, a financial crisis in Brazil. And the second startup that I was working with was a Brazilian-funded startup. So they were a Brazilian branch of the US branch of a Brazilian company. So they couldn't pay me in dollar anymore because we had a financial crisis. I had my son. This is Christmas, so he was about 2 months old. There's the Christmas tree. But I don't want you to look at the baby or the tree. I want you to look at the carpet. Because 2 months after that picture, it's when the startup that I was working for, the Brazilian one, told me, hey, we have a financial crisis. The dollar went up the roofs. Your salary more than doubled for us, and we can't. And that's the carpet where I cried. I sit down, I had my baby, I was the main breadwinner, and I couldn't support my family. And of course, I had spent all my savings on the world trip, which was an amazing experience, but I was lost again. I was lost because I thought I was going to be a star and I wasn't. I was lost because I thought I would have an amazing job by the time I had my baby, and I didn't. And then I had to really find myself again. This is Noah. So that was Christmas. This is 10 months after. So he was almost, don't go. He was almost almost 1 year old in this picture. So 10 months after that picture. What happened between the two pictures is that I decided that I wanted to go back to a corporate world. And that was a big shift for me. It was a major shift because first I had to recognize that it was not cut for the startup world at the moment on that scenario. Second, I had to really come to peace with going back to corporations. And I did. And the way I did it was understanding what are the corporate rules and understanding that for several reasons, I wanted to play by those rules, including the financial reasons. Working for early stage startups, I don't know if you guys have this experience, but it doesn't pay a lot. And I had a young child, I was the main breadwinner, and I needed to come back on my tracks. So on the day that I cried in the carpet, the next day I stood up, put my clothes on, my working clothes, put my working shoes on inside the house, okay? Sat down on my computer and I sent 40 job applications on that day. I connected with people from all across. I made a list. I said, who is everybody that I know? And I'm going to connect with them. One of the people that I know was a guy that was working in Singapore. And I connected with him, and he had worked with me in Brazil. And he said, MP, we definitely need somebody with your skills here. Come to work with me in Singapore. And that's when we got to Singapore. But the interesting thing is not Singapore, because moving to a different country is something that I knew I could do. I've done 1 year traveling. I had moved once. I could move again. The interesting thing is that I went back to work for the same company that I had left 3 years before. And that was the big shift for me, was to come to the peace of mind that was the opportunity that was showing up at the time, and I was gonna embrace this opportunity with all my heart. But I remember telling my friends, like, oh, guys, I have good news. I'm moving to Singapore. They're like, oh, yeah, that's amazing, so interesting. Singapore is exciting. I said, yeah, and I'm working for Experian again. They're like, what? You're working for Experian again? But you left that company because it's an amazing company. But I was tired of the company. I was tired of the business. I said, yeah. But that's the opportunity that I have now. It's a very good opportunity. It's going to take me to a different country, and it's going to help me provide to my family. So I really have to find myself in a scenario that almost felt like going back a step and really having to manage my ego as I took that decision. And that for me was the part where I had most work to do within myself. Then I come to story number 3. Story number 3 is a work in progress because it's still going on. And it's the moment where I feel lost again. And I come here to tell you guys that I'm at a lost place again. And I'm still waiting to see how I'm going to be found. It's a story from going from a working mom to a solo parent. No, my husband didn't die. We just got a divorce. It's much less dramatic than that, okay? But throughout this journey, something broke between us, and we couldn't piece it together. And I went from being a working mom, which was part of a family, bringing bread, having a partner, and having a different structure in my life, to becoming the solo mom, because Noah's father returned to Brazil. So I'm effectively a solo parent now. And this is Noah. And the journey that I'm going right now is a journey of refocusing, is a journey of reassessing my priorities, is understanding what I can give to my career and to my work, which I love dearly and I'm extremely committed to, but also what are my responsibilities in this role, in this new role of being a solo parent. And I've been at this for only 2.5 months. And it is still a very fresh journey, but it's a journey that I have to take, and I have to take with my little buddy here. I'm not alone in this journey, but it's a journey that impacts him as well. So what I wanted to wrap up here, and definitely open for some comments and questions from you guys, is that what I've learned, so this is just 11 years of my life. I'm just a little bit older than that. You guys figured that out already. But we are on a constant journey. We are always finding ourselves and losing ourselves again, and finding ourselves and losing ourselves again. I went from being lost to being found to being lost again. What I did throughout these journeys was, at the moments where I felt lost, where the moments where I was crying on the carpet, I would stop and listen. One of the things that happened when I was crying on the carpet was that I started asking a question that I think we've all asked ourselves sometimes, like, why is this happening to me? I'm generally a good person, I think. I am a good person. I am a good citizen. I am a good mother. I am a good worker. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I just find the job that I want? Or why can't I just piece together my family? Why are those things happening to me? And I came to 2 answers. One, there is a reason. And who am I to fathom, to understand the reason? Who am I to try to piece together whatever God, life, or destiny, whatever your fate, who am I to try to understand that? And if there is not a reason, there's not a reason. Then there's nothing for me to worry about. What I found out, it was up to me to do the work and to do my part. Because if there is a reason or if there's not a reason, it doesn't matter. That's the job that I have to do. What I found out as well is that there's always this tipping point. And it's important to try and identify, and sometimes we can only do that in retrospect, but identify what is the tipping point? What is that moment, like sitting in Friends for me, where I felt that I really needed to shift things, or sitting on the carpet and crying on the carpet and feeling I really need to change the life that I have. So what is this tipping point? And when you go through the transformation, really embrace the transformation. Really embrace that you're going to have to do new actions and have new values. So when I left my company, I never thought I was going to go back to that company. Not because of the company, because of me. And then when I came back to the company, it was not again because of the company, it's because I had to reevaluate my ego and my values and understand what was important at that time in my life. And those things, they change. What has taken me through this journey, through all these journeys, and what I have identified as my most important tool for life is acceptance and gratitude. Acceptance not as a passive actor, as an active actor of a scene that you're not the director. The director is something else. The director is God, is life, is destiny, it's random if you don't have a fate in something bigger, and that's okay. But the director is somebody else. You're an actor, but you're going to be the best actor that you can. So accepting that you're part of a life that you don't control. But having gratitude. As I stand here as a recently divorced solo parent, reevaluating parts of my life and parts of my career, I'm still extremely grateful for all that I have. I'm extremely grateful that I have feet to stand on, that I have clothes on my body, that I'm in space with you. So I have what I call my list for when shit hits the fan. And the first thing that I have in my list is gratitude. So whenever I'm feeling like shit is hitting the fan, I don't know if I can swear, but you can blip, you can blip that after that. But I go to my list, and the first thing is make a list of gratitude. Reshift the perspective that I have on that moment. And get, I'm gonna swear again, my ass off the chair and go do the work. That's all we can do when shit hits the fan and you're feeling lost. And then you can feel found again. Thank you.